I'm Eric, and I've been designing and testing trimmers for the last 7 years, and here's a look at the Manscaped Beard Hedger. All right, so we're gonna talk about the blade, we're gonna talk about the guards, we're going to talk about the guard adjustment system, and the battery and the motor, and some other considerations. So here we go. The blade on the Manscaped Beard Hedger is a small tooth stainless steel T-blade. I was able to test this blade out and found it did a great job cutting really short. The first task I gave it was trimming up some neck hair, and did a really good job cutting the hair really short, which is perfect for, you know, small tooth stainless steel blade. And I think they chose this blade for that reason. Any beard trimmer should have that ability to cut really short, and this trimmer certainly does. The downside, of course, of using a smaller tooth steel blade is that it isn't quite as good at cutting longer and thicker hair as a larger toothed ceramic blade. With any blade design, it's always a compromise. You're never gonna get a blade that cuts super short and does really well cutting longer, thicker hair. Generally, the large tooth ceramic blades like you'd find on the Beardscape are really good at cutting longer, thicker hair, while a small tooth stainless blade is good for cutting super short. But I think where you can lose out with that style of blade is cutting longer and thicker hair. It doesn't yet look like Manscaped is selling a replacement. I'm sure they will in the future. A little ironic being that they push so hard on a subscription blade for their ceramic trimmer, yet they don't have a replacement blade for this trimmer. I would assume that's coming. Again, just a reminder, never subscribe to a ceramic blade replacement. Ceramic blades are fantastic. They last a really long time and just rarely need to be replaced, so it's just totally unnecessary. So I did some testing with the Beard Hedger and a number of other trimmers and found that the Beard Hedger definitely lacks some cutting power. So I was trimming this coarse-haired brush, and the Beard Hedger was the only trimmer that was really getting bogged down. Every other trimmer I tested was able to cut through this stuff. I don't know if that's 100% the fault of the blade. It could be the battery and the motor, which we'll get into a little bit later. All right, next up, let's talk about the guards, or should I say guard in this case. So just a quick note on guards. If you're trimming your beard, guards are super important. Anywhere from just a few millimeters of beard length all the way up to maybe 6 or 8 where the hair is starting to hang off your chin. Guards are an extremely useful and valuable tool to cutting everything down to kind of that same consistent height. When beards get longer, then it's really not as much about using guards as it is shaping. After looking at the marketing lingo, it definitely looks like Manscaped chose the single guard just for ease and convenience. I totally agree that having less pieces of plastic is ideal. That's why with the Beardscape, we did reversible guards so that you get 2 lengths per piece of plastic. So I think that's a noble effort, but I would like to say that the guards on a beard trimmer are super important, and I don't think it's a place to compromise on cut quality. If you have to end up with a couple more pieces of plastic floating around in the bathroom drawer to ensure that you're gonna get a better trim when you're using it, I think that's worthwhile. Here's a couple reasons why I think the cutting quality is compromised a little bit when you're using this adjustable guard system. So this is not the first trimmer I've tried out with an adjustable guard. The Meridian Plus trimmer, which came out a little while ago, has this. Also, the Philips 9000 series has this adjustable guard system as well. And I've never really loved using the adjustable guard for a couple reasons here. They always seem to have a fair bit of flex and play in it, and this just does not inspire confidence when you're using the trimmer. So the dial wheel has 0.5 millimeter increments when you're adjusting the trimmer, yet the flex and extension of this guard is far more than that 0.5 millimeter. So you're never really getting that 0.5 millimeter precision that you think you're getting. So for me, I would rather snap on a guard and just have it not move and know that that's what you're gonna get versus one that flexes a little bit. On the other side of that point is with this Philips 9000 series, there is no flex or play in this guard. It's a die-cast guard on a stainless blade. In this range of adjustment, there is no flex. So it can be done. It just was not done on the Manscaped Beard Hedger. The other big problem that I ran into with this guard and the one on the Meridian was the distance between the blade and the guard is not consistent from the top to the front. So the distance from the blade to the guard, as measured on the wheel, measures to the top. But the front here has this kind of plastic bump out, and that's actually about 4 millimeters longer when you measure in this dimension. I ran into trouble when I was trimming along my cheek line, where this trimmer would do really well on the flats. So on the flat vertical spot on my cheek, and then on the flat kind of on my neck here. But in that space below where it curves, I had a hard time turning this trimmer in a manner so that it would cut in a consistent way in that transition area. I think that guards are too important to kind of compromise with coming up with something that's certainly convenient and easy, but kind of lacks that precision that you need. Looking back at the video, I could see that trimmers with an open front guard system, like the Norelco, like the Beardscape, have no trouble working around that chin line and cutting it an even length throughout that whole cutting process because it is open in the front. The trimmers that have these closed front guard systems, they're always going to struggle in that area, which is generally a pretty important area. I haven't had a long beard in a couple years, but if I did have a long beard and I had to use the Manscaped Beard Hedger, I would definitely remove the guard completely and just do a trim with a comb and then this trimmer on its own to kind of shape that beard in place. Definitely wouldn't trust this guard out at the longer lengths. I think for a lot of shorter beards, you would use it to kind of clean up the top of your cheek down to your cheek line transition, and then anything below shaping down here is going to be used with just basically a comb and then freehanding with the open blade. Okay, so let's talk about this thing being waterproof. So I think what happened is because Manscaped and their other trimmers have talked so much about being waterproof, showing this thing in water, cutting wet hair, I think they were kind of pigeonholed a little bit into making their beard trimmer waterproof as well. Let me just say that I would never recommend cutting wet hair. I think it's a terrible idea, and I think especially when trimming beards or beard hair, you're going to get a worse result if your hair is all wet when you're trimming it. So please don't trim your beard when it's wet. That said, making this thing waterproof led to some major compromises inside that I think dramatically affect the power and lifespan of this trimmer. So to make a trimmer waterproof, all the major components inside, the battery and the motor, need to be inside a waterproof casing. And what this means is they have to be drastically downsized in order to fit. Otherwise the trimmer would just be gigantic. The battery and motor in the Beard Hedger are just way undersized. Going back to that test where I was putting this thing on a coarse bristle brush and it was just totally bogging down, I think part of that might have been the blade, but I think more of it is really just the battery and the motor just being really underpowered to cut thicker hair. All the other trimmers were able to power through it. Even the small body hair trimmers were able to kind of cut through that thicker bristle brush where this thing just got bogged down. So I think from a design perspective, I think it's a terrible idea to make a beard trimmer waterproof, ending up with a beard trimmer that doesn't have quite the power that it needs. So this guy, 700 milliamp hour, the battery in the Beardscape is 3.14 times larger at 2000 milliamp hours. So the lifespan on most sort of consumer electronics that have a battery inside is usually the battery. Once the battery's dead, the thing is no good. After years of use, anything with a battery inside it just starts to not hold its charge for nearly as long. And when you drastically oversize the battery like we did in the Beardscape, you're just buying more lifespan for that product because, as that lifespan kind of naturally degrades, the use of the product will get worse as well. So the Beard Hedger has an advertised 60 minutes of cutting time. So just keep in mind, as the years roll on, that's only getting worse. And overall, it's probably gonna result in a dead trimmer a lot sooner than if they would have put a much bigger battery in it. So who is this trimmer for? There is no such thing as the perfect trimmer. There's always compromises, whether that be blade size, blade type, what hair it's optimized at cutting for. There's differences in trimmers. There's never one that's like just absolutely the best perfect answer for everything. So in asking that question, I can say that the Beard Hedger is definitely not a tool for someone with a beard. Between the guard system, the blade, and the motor being a little bit underpowered, this is definitely not the tool to accurately cut thick hair, especially in that kind of chin area. The only thing I guess I could recommend this for is if you want to cut body hair just a little bit shorter than what something like the lawnmower cuts, that's the tool that's gonna do it. So slightly shorter cutting blade than the lawnmower, and it's waterproof. So that's about the only use case that I could come up for with this. If you absolutely love this dial adjustable guard system, I get it. It's pretty slick, far better executed in the Philips 9000 series. So this thing, it just, in every measure when it comes to this adjustable guard system, the Philips trimmer is better. The blade cut better. It had an open front, so I didn't run into these same problems with cutting in transition areas. I think this trimmer is actually waterproof as well. I did not take this one apart to see what's inside, but it didn't bog down when trimming that thick-haired brush, so it definitely seems to be at least a little bit more powerful. Thanks for watching. If you want to ask me any questions on the Manscaped Beard Hedger, drop those comments below and I'll try and answer those. If you want to check out an awesome beard trimming tool, check out the Brio Beardscape. And yeah, if you want to see more reviews of trimmers and trimming content, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.